Kind of a surprise, really. I didn't think that this movie was going to do this bad, but it kind of looks like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is going to be a flop. 78 million 5-day debut is what is now being projected for this movie, which is kind of surprising because this movie has good word of mouth. It's done nothing wrong. I haven't seen any crazy marketing for it. It kind of just does everything right. It's literally him jumping off of things and doing wild stunts is the marketing for this movie. So you have to wonder what's going on here. Maybe it's the fact that it's part 7. So when you go into a movie like this, if you haven't seen the other ones, you feel like you might be missing out. Maybe it's the fact that the box office has been front-loaded with so many bad movies over the past couple of weeks. Maybe people are just assuming this will be a bad movie. I don't know what's going on with it, but you can't spin 78 million as a win. That is a fact. This movie, unless it somehow has a magical rekindling today, looks like it's going to be a flop. At the Indiana Jones level, too, by the way, because this movie's up there in terms of cost with Indiana Jones, making it a very expensive movie. And next week, Barbie and Oppenheimer come out, and that's not going to help this movie's box office either. The hope is that it'll have legs and rack up money as it goes. But let's take a look at this. Paramount's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is diffusing a bit at the box office, readjusting for an estimated 78 million gross over its 5-day opening weekend. That'd be a substantial chunk behind projections headed into the weekend, which had the Tom Cruise action sequel hoping for 90 million. Now, I don't have the global numbers for this. The hope for this movie is that the global numbers are good. Fast and the Furious has this same issue with domestic. I remember when that movie came out, it was worse. It was like 60-something domestic. But the global numbers for the movie saved it. In fact, it's thanks to the global movies that movie's probably going to make. It's thanks to the global numbers that movie's probably going to make money, because I think last time I checked, it was at like almost 700 million. So it's creeping up there on profit. In fact, it probably will end up making at least breaking even. But that movie has a domestic problem. Maybe this movie has a domestic problem too. One of the reasons that everyone thought that this movie was going to do so good was because of Top Gun Maverick. What the halo effect, thinking that, oh, well, that one did good. Maybe this one will do good. And I was kind of expecting that as well. Okay, so worldwide, it looks like this movie is already over 100 million. And in that, by the weekend, it should hit 250. So that's a lot better. However, the problem here is that the movie is still having domestic problems. This movie is not doing very well domestically. But globally, it looks like it might make its money. Now, there are factors here. One, you don't make as much universally in certain markets, like China, for example. I think that studios only get like 25% of that box office. They don't get very much of that money. So just because a movie does extremely well in China doesn't mean that it's going to get all of that money. I don't know if this movie's in China or not. I'm not so sure what's going on with it, but domestically, this movie's not doing that well. Some in the industry were expecting a Top Gun Maverick halo effect for Dead Reckoning after last year's legacy sequel positively ignited movie theaters, rocketing through the summer to become the 5th highest grossing domestic release of all time. That doesn't seem to be the case, though, as Mission isn't exactly transcending the numbers typical for its franchise. And then the rest of the piece goes into like some Tom Cruise stuff and how he's kind of seen as the last movie star, which I agree with. But it is kind of strange. The only thing I can think of with this movie kind of underperforming, because an actual good number for this movie would be $200 million because it's been out for 5 days. It's been out since Monday. So I'm not sure what's going on with this movie. It is kind of surprising, but I think maybe what's going on here is two things. One, there's been a lot of disappointing movies out this year. The Flash, Indiana Jones, Elemental, Little Mermaid. I mean, there's been a lot of big, high-budget flops. People might just not want to go to the movies, or they think that maybe this one will follow that trend. And then also, don't forget, this movie is number 7 in a franchise. 7 of these have been made, which is a lot, to be honest. That's a lot of movies. And it's a part 1. So it's like it's 7 of these. And there's going to be another one. This isn't even a full movie. That could maybe be something too. I don't have the answers there. It is kind of wild to me that after Top Gun and some of the successes that Tom Cruise has had over the past 2 years, I really thought this movie would have done better. And I'm not the only one that thought that. And it probably still could do better. But right now, looking at it domestically, this movie's not doing very well. At least the global numbers seem to be doing well. So this movie won't have the Indiana Jones. It won't be as bad as Indiana Jones because I think this movie will have better legs. But, with next week, I'm not sure. Maybe it'll bounce back, though. We'll see what tomorrow's numbers look like. Anyway, peace. Make sure to check out my locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my locals.